Welcome to Signs from the Other Side with Fern Ronay. I'm your host, Fern Ronay, and this is the place to share stories of signs and messages received from the other side. Real quick before we get started, if you enjoy reading about signs and if you enjoy fiction like Bridget Jones and Sex and the City, you might enjoy my books, Better in the Morning and Better Believe It. And if you like this podcast, please be sure to rate, review, and subscribe in Apple Podcasts and tell a friend too. Thank you so much for listening, and on to the show. We often talk about dream visits. I have a video in my playlist about the difference between a dream and a dream visit. And this story coming up is one of my favorite stories of a dream visit.
I must have been saying to her how worried I was about this diagnosis and what was going to happen. And she had said to me, "Don't you worry, I will be there at your wedding." Obviously, when she died when I was 15, I knew that wasn't going to be. I got married at 30, and a couple of days before I was at home, I had had a lie down. It was in the middle of the afternoon. I hadn't fallen asleep, but I was in a very, very relaxed place where your mind starts to drift before sleep. Slowly, I just moved into a different place in my mind. And it was like my eyes were shut, but it was like something playing out before me. I was suddenly standing outside my mum's bedroom, and I was in my wedding dress. And I became aware of something to my left. I turned around and I saw my grandmother, Nanny, coming up the staircase behind me. And it was just really natural, as if she'd been there all along. We just had eye contact for a couple of seconds. She was saying, I'm here too.
I'm often asked if they are relieved of their ailments when they pass to the other side, and they absolutely are. Anything that held them down here, physical, emotional, spiritual, mental, anything that they carried here that they had to go through to learn the lessons they were supposed to learn on this journey to help their souls evolve, they are relieved of those ailments and of that baggage. And when they pass to the other side, they are whole again. And this story that I'm going to share is one of my favorite stories of a dream visit that exemplifies this so perfectly.
I describe it in the blog post that it felt sort of three-dimensional. My grandfather, when he was alive, he'd had both of his legs amputated, and in the dream, he could walk using his legs. My grandmother, in her later years, was on oxygen because she had COPD from all those years of smoking. In the dream, she wasn't on oxygen anymore. She was smoking a couple cigarettes, having some cocktails.
I love it.
Everybody was happy and loving and having a good time. And, they died early into my adulthood. So, they didn't know me as a fully mature adult. But they knew stuff about my adulthood, and they knew, things that I was fearful of. And, we talked about those things. They knew about the times that maybe I'd fallen short, and they talked to me about that and said, that's all part of life. And what's important is how you get up and dust yourself off. And during it all, we had a really good time and laughed and things that we hadn't done in, possibly ever.
I'm often asked about dream visits, and I have a video, it's in my playlist, about the difference between a dream and a dream visit. And this is one of my favorite stories. When I'm asked if they can deliver specific messages, they absolutely can.
My oldest daughter, Caitlin, was expecting a baby, and we didn't find out, at this point what the baby was going to be. So I went to bed, had a dream, and I didn't dream often, of course, because I always think he's too busy having a good time wherever he is up in heaven. Honestly, because he doesn't come to me in my dreams very often. But this particular night, he came to me and he was standing in front of me. And then almost like that show, Let's Make a Deal, he stepped aside and he waved his arm for me to look. And when I looked, it was my mother sitting in a rocking chair holding a baby girl. And I said the next morning, because it was so vivid, I will never forget that dream. I woke up and I said, it's a girl. Chrissy just told me Caitlin's having a girl. And I was adamant. And sure enough, she had a girl. Chris didn't like to keep surprises. She had to be the first one to tell you. So I do believe that was his way of saying, I had to tell you, you're having a granddaughter.
At the beginning of the summer, I always think of this story that was told on my podcast by Lisa from Tessa May Greeting Cards. Wait until the end. It involves a shell on the beach, and it's a great story of signs from the other side.
So my cousin lost her mom when she was about 9. I just lost my dad. It'd been like 3 months. And so, I was still freshly grieving. And she's like, I remember my mom trying to give me signs when I was a kid, but I think she knew it was scaring me. So she stopped. And so I was like, well, we know our parents are together. Like, I know my dad's with your mom right now. So let's ask him for a sign. And we were walking on the beach. And I was like, let's just ask, since I get hearts, let's ask for a heart-shaped shell. And then I was like, no, let's make it really hard on him. And I was like, let's ask for like a heart within a shell. And like literally, we walked 5 feet and Sarah looks at the floor and she just started crying because of this perfect shell with a heart inside it. Like, it looks fake. Like, I still have it. It looks
It's really
fake, and it was
perfect.
just on.
It's really
It is.
perfect.
And I was like, I was trying to make it hard on him. Like, I like to mess with my dad, or like we tease each other. So I was like, okay, come on. Like, let's make this hard on him. And I was like, no way.
Right.
And we both were just in total shock.
Thank you so much for listening to Signs from the Other Side. You can find me, Fern Ronay, on all social media at Fern Ronay, Ronay. I love hearing from you and I love hearing your stories of signs. And if you would like to hear more episodes of this show, please be sure to subscribe in Apple Podcasts. Thank you again and sweet dreams.